You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What's it like to grow up on the backstretch of a racetrack? Apparently, it's downright magical. Stay tuned for this episode of Barn Stories. It might make you wish you'd grown up there too.
Hello, I'm Lori Prinz, editor of Equus Magazine.
And I'm Christine Barakat, managing editor. This is the Barn Stories podcast, where we bring the best personal essays from Equus Magazine to life as audio stories. Each episode explores life with horses. It's joy, heartbreak, early mornings, muddy boots, and calloused hands. If you have, had, or hope to have horses in your life, you're in for a treat.
The essay we've chosen for this episode is a woman's recollection of growing up on the backstretch at a racetrack. If you're not familiar with backstretch culture, it's a bustling, tightly choreographed world, one that comes alive long before most people start their day. Mornings at the racetrack are special, a quiet time shared by the horses and the people who care for them and about them.
In this essay, the author reflects on growing up in that environment, in those pre-dawn hours. She shares the responsibilities she took on, the horses she connected with, and the sense of confidence and belonging that grew from both. The adult in me recognizes how challenging that lifestyle might be, but the child in me can't help feeling a little jealous that she experienced it.
My inner child feels the same way. Let's listen to Scenes from the Backstretch, written by Verna Dreisbach and read by Taylor Autumn.
This episode is sponsored by Creative Science. Summer is here, along with skin irritations and seasonal allergies. The EquiShield line offers veterinarian-developed solutions to help manage common equine skin and coat challenges, such as fungal and bacterial skin issues, insect bites, sunburns, wounds, and allergies. EquiShield products are designed to help keep your horse comfortable, healthy, and performing at their best, no matter the season.
Nights are quiet on the backstretch, but there is a restlessness and anticipation, not of the rising sun, but of the activity in pre-dawn hours when horses go to the track to gallop. I felt the restlessness too. Occasionally, I awoke to the sound of defiant kicking, accompanied by screams of frustration and fear. I would bolt from my bed, awkwardly attempting to find my shoes without stepping onto the cold, dust-covered concrete floor. The single window near the door, covered with dust and a metal security barrier, cast just enough light for me to fumble with the lock on our tack room door. My brother, who slept on the bunk above me, never woke to the sounds of the night, seemingly oblivious to this entire other world we lived in. Our bedroom opened to what seemed to be a limitless shed row of horses, and beyond were monstrous robotic hot walkers, stacks of hay, and coiled-up water hoses. Outside the door, I listened for the sound of the kicking, for the horse who had found himself cast, bound by his own legs and body against the walls of his stall. After many months of living among the horses, I was able to discern which ones had the most trouble with the night. Most times, I talked them through their fury, the sound of my voice calming their fear. Occasionally, I slipped into a stall and pulled the legs over the trapped body to freedom. As a girl of 10 years, I felt quite heroic and brave dealing with such monstrous animals, moving their entire bodies with my small frame. Once I had the horse freed, we would both stand in silence, calming our fears, and then find our way back to our nightly rest. I would never awaken to the clatter of the cars driving by, to the brightness of the headlights shining through my window, nor to the hum of voices increasing in number. But I would always rouse to the sound of the horses walking by or whinnying. It was still dark when I parted from my warm bed, somewhat startled by the coldness of the room. Morning seemed so far off. On days that I didn't have school, I was part of this fast-paced adventure. I loved to watch the excitement of the horses passing by, who could bear to neither walk nor trot, but simply pranced and skipped with anticipation as they neared the track. They had waited all night for the chance to run. I would head to the track and sit on the edge of the railing, separated from the runners by only a few feet. The darkness prevented me from seeing the entire oval, but I was close enough to feel the ground vibrate when they approached. Clumps of dirt kicked up from their hooves, struck the ground around me. A slight breeze, as they raced by, would stir wisps of hair across my face. They would return tired, yet revived, with sweat dripping down their legs, foam oozing from their mouths as they chewed their bits. Occasionally, a horse would unseat his rider at the track, and he would return with an empty saddle, reins flapping against his neck, and irons beating against his sides. The sound of a loose horse approaching from a distance was unmistakable, his gaits beating out the sound of complete freedom and momentary triumph over his controlled world. Back in the shed route, most horses behaved well, as they were washed down with a cold hose, then fastened by their halters to the methodic, circular hot walker. Others, however, would playfully, fearfully, or defiantly pull the entire machine over onto its side. This was when I was able to become a participant rather than a spectator. I took the job of hot walking these difficult horses. These intrigued me the most in their quest to be themselves, as they insolently refused to comply with their masters. They had extraordinary personality, energy, and zeal. In no way did I attempt to tame or control them. They would prance and hop about, walking sideways as their bodies moved in every possible direction. The rising sun signaled an end to the chaos. The heat of the day intensified the smells of the wet horses, the urine-soaked ground, and the piles of manure being carried away by the tractor. Owners, trainers, and jockeys had left or were preparing to depart. Horses were returned to their stalls, now piled deep with clean, fresh straw, where buckets of warm bran, sweet grain, and fresh flakes of hay awaited them. The horses had to choose between eating first or rolling in the sweet-smelling soft beds. Life slowed, and with the final load of the tractor, silence settled in. The people were gone, and all that was left were the horses and me. This was the most peaceful time of their day. Not a single head stuck out from a stall. They were all at rest, finally. Looking back at my childhood, I realized I felt most at peace during these quiet afternoons at the racetrack. I would sit and read or do my homework near the stall of my favorite horse. The solitude was welcome, yet I was far from alone. In the nonverbal world I lived in, there was a mutual understanding. It was not solely because I lived with the horses that I was able to understand their world, but because I chose to be a part of their world. Too often we live or visit places, yet never really feel like we were there. They are easily forgotten, or we're in some manner unsatisfied. We become spectators in life, rather than participants. This is true not only of places, but of people. Our interpersonal relationships are full of the spoken language, with the ability to express feelings and desires in words. Yet they seem to be the most difficult to attain and maintain. The art of true connection is lost. With the racehorses, I was able to develop authentic relationships, and it was fulfilling. Innately, I knew the desires and feelings of the horses I lived with. The horses were my family, and the racetrack was my home.